You want to talk to the people a little bit, tell them a little bit about yourself and what kind of got you involved with Revitalist and the team?
Initially what got me involved is my buddy Derek Furlow, when he was talking about, especially with the whole ketamine thing and whatnot, getting to know more about that. But it's crazy. I think the biggest thing that got me was the mental aspect of it. When people say mental health or whatnot, people always think about mental health in a way that you're sick. But mental health actually means, like, pretty much, if you really think about it, everybody has some type of form of mental health. Yeah. And with Revitalists and whatnot, they kind of branching off more towards the athletes, current and actually, retired athletes too. Because I was talking to, we're in a meeting one time, and when you're an athlete, you feel like you're on top of the world. Mm-hmm. You always feel like you're on top of the world, and there's no feeling like that. And when you actually get done with your profession and you want to move on or whatnot, you still want to end up having that feeling that's up there. Sometimes it can break them down. That's why you get a lot of athletes who end up dealing with some type of depression or whatnot, because they want, essentially, you ever heard of the runner's high before, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Essentially, like, runners, no matter what, they got to go running because they need that high.
Right.
So the athlete has
the
that
endorphins
high.
and everything involved with that.
So you want that. You want to continue to have that. Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of athletes want to end up, I guess you can say, want to end up being relevant, or sort of say, but at the same time, a lot of times it can weigh down on them. Like, it's hard, man. It's hard to life being basically, I guess, in the public eye after a major career or whatnot. That's why a lot of athletes do not know what to do. If you ask me right now, I'm kind of dipping and dabbing in particular stuff, but I really do not know what I want to do right now.
Yeah,
it's confusing.
Getting harder to kind of parse it out. Is it as you get older, or is it just as your career's moved on, where you're going?
Is as you get older, as you start thinking about retiring. Because a lot of times, like, even in my profession, mixed martial arts people would ask me, "Hey, you planning on retiring anytime soon? Mm-hmm. What age you think about retiring?" And I'm like, I really don't know. And he's like, "Well, what do you want to do after you get done?" And I'm like, it was about 3 years ago, I really sat down and be like, okay, I probably need to start coming up with a game plan to figure out what I want to do afterwards and whatnot. And I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to think about sometimes. It is hard to think about sometimes. So,
well, the mix, that martial arts community and everything that you're a part of, I've seen more recently that, there has been kind of a push to how we're going to help with not that transition process, but a little bit more with mental health, that a lot more people are taking it more seriously. And you see that in podcasts, other things, where athletes are getting out there and talking about it.
Yeah. 'Cause, I somewhat dealt with it when I played football.
Okay. You were at Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
You played for the Volunteers.
Played football at UT. Like, you get the coaches in your face, yelling in your face, but at the same time, you always want to push yourself. Mm-hmm. You don't want to actually talk to anybody about it, because if you have to go see sports psychologist or something, I mean, you're going crazy. Right. Every time people think about getting a therapy session, they think about going crazy. Mm-hmm. I actually talked to a guy from the UFC provides us with one of a sports psychologist.
Okay.
So I talk to him on a weekly basis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy just because whatever you're thinking, they can bring stuff into light, but they can actually make you see things from a different perspective too. And that helps out tremendously. But as fighters and stuff, you don't know. Like, some of these guys, they just been in the game. They just kind of stumbled into mixed martial arts. Mm-hmm. To be quite frank, that's what happened to me. I was just doing this to stay in shape, and it ended up turning into a career. But you get a lot of these guys, when you deal with mental health, they don't know about the mental health aspect. Fighters that were born in the U.S., you get a lot of U.S. fighters. You get a lot of Brazilian fighters. Mm-hmm. When you get a lot of fighters from different countries. When you grew up and pretty much didn't have anything,
right,
you don't think about mental health. You just think about, like, hey, I need to get out.
Yeah, we were actually talking about on the podcast yesterday, when it's kind of a luxury in this country, mental health is that's a luxurious thing, because there are plenty of countries out there where, that's the last thing people are thinking of, whether
Exactly.
it's, you got to get that doctor that's there in that town is just doing general, practice kind of things. They're not thinking about those luxurious, type items. But the great thing about, ketamine infusion therapy and some of the stuff Revitalis does is ketamine's on that WHO list of essential medicines. It's in every country. It's a cheap medication that's available. And if we could train people, it could be something where we kind of increase that access across the board.
Oh yeah, yeah. And with that, like I want to say Katie told me ketamine has an 80-90% rate of actually.
Yeah, the efficacy rate.
Yeah.
It's like 85%. It's wild.
It's
wild how
that's
well.
crazy.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's crazy because I know as an athlete, for me, like that's the only thing I kind of see I don't want to deal with is in the depression aspect. Because again, you get guys, I'll look at them and be like, man, you're a beast in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, how the heck you not killing it in the octagon? How the hell you not killing it in the fight?
Yeah.
And come to find out, it's all mental. You get that blockage, and you just need someone, or you need help one way or another.
Yeah, well, that's where sports psychology, like what you're saying, is a huge field now. I mean, like every team out there has a sports psychologist working with. We were talking a little bit earlier about some of the esports teams that are out there. Even they have sports psychologists just for playing Call of Duty, playing some game, and we laugh about it, and it's like, but it's true. When you have that mental block, it's all about getting to that next level.
But also too, this kind of like it's been like a recent thing when all of this ended up happening too.
Mm-hmm.
Like this really, it's been around for a while, but nobody actually took advantage of it until probably the last 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And this, I think now when it comes to sports, when it comes to competing and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times now is basically the forefront is, okay, make sure you put in the correct stuff in your body, but make sure your head is right too. Because, if you have too much in your head, you got, like, it just, for me personally, it's just like my coach was like, okay, stop fighting the person in front of you and stop fighting the person inside of you. Essentially, you're fighting two people.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. It's just like you would just want to focus on the person in front of you. So if I have a lot of things going on with me internally or whatnot, there's no way I'm going to be able to win my fight because I'm fighting two people at the same time. So
it makes so much sense.
Yeah,
that's and that insight, having somebody else there that can kind of look at that general scope of the issue and provide guidance. So I know that you have a fight coming up.
Yeah.
You got one in November, early November, right?
November 13th.
Okay. Who are you fighting?
This guy named Philip Lentz
Okay.
is trains out.
Are you heavyweight or light
No,
heavyweight now?
I'm going back down. That
Yeah?
heavyweight division is. I can do it.
Yeah.
But I'll have to end up training like a heavyweight. Like I have to train like a heavyweight. I mean, I'll have to get stronger.
Yeah.
And because that heavyweight division is I'm not gonna lie, it's different. I'm used to moving big people around, but I tell people like it's kind of like being in the trenches, playing linebacker, going against the offensive lineman, and when you're constantly doing that, eventually that weight adjustment, that weight. You start getting between you and you be like, look, I can't move him anymore.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be someone my size that I can move on a continuous basis or whatnot.
And get more technical with it as opposed to just that brute force kind of strength.
And they hit hard.
Yeah.
They hit really hard.
I could not even imagine. So when you're doing that training for that, what are some of the things, diet-wise, nutrition-wise? Do you change things up when it's right before a fight? Do you kind of keep it consistent across the board?
That's the hard part. The hard part about it is keeping it consistent because, again, it can get, I guess, boring per se.
Yeah.
You don't want to,
you want to be able to have a pizza. You want to be able to do those things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then after that, you got to, I think the hardest part for me is, like I tell people, out of sight, out of mind for me. If I don't see it, I'm good. But when you're around other people and people are like, eating out, like, let me see, was it the South Carolina game? I was at, where was I? Billy Rattler's new spot, Tap 40 or 40, the one over here out in Powell.
It passed me, but yeah. Anyways,
I had a lot
out there and had a couple.
No. I had a lot of my teammates in town, and
Oh,
they had pizzas all over the place. They had
yeah,
wings
all
all
that
over the place.
food is.
I walk in, I was like, oh man. So I had to go to the other side of the bar, and I was like, man, let me get a water.
Yeah,
And everybody was like, hey, come over here, we're talking. I was like, no, I'm good. I don't want to keep on looking at food, because
Yeah.
it's not when, it's not if, it's when.
yeah,
Yeah, because you're always going to end up breaking down and whatnot. So it's just the discipline aspect of it. I didn't like playing football in college was cool. You had fun. You work out, get your protein shakes after workout. You get your meal tables. Yeah, I mean, sometimes if you don't want to eat the food, you don't want to eat the food. But
Yeah.
now, like when it comes to any type of sport, it's whatever you put in your body that's going to make you.
I know you did wrestling in high school, right?
Yeah.
And then so is that transition though from like doing those team-based sports, playing football for so long, going back to an individual sport like that? Is that, do you feel like you could have leaned back a little bit more on some of the guys beside you, but now it's just
that's
you?
that's the thing about with a team sport or whatnot. It's just like, playing football has always been a team sport. If you mess up, if I'm playing linebacker and I mess up and I have a missed tackle or whatnot, I have to safety to save my butt back here.
Right.
So, sometimes like I can take a play or two off, and because, the play might be on the other side of the field. But team sports becomes different. And also too, it becomes different in a way where, I played 4 years at UT. And if you ask me my record for those 4 years at UT, they're like, I mean, how many games did y'all win? They were like, oh, okay, we were, I don't know.
Right. Not the first thing you're thinking about.
But it's not the first thing you're thinking about. But also too, like it wasn't the record didn't weigh on me. It weighed on the head coach. What was his record these 4 years at UT? Now when you're doing mixed martial arts again is a team sport or whatnot. But when you do that, it's not going to be like, oh, what's your coach's record, is what's your record.
Right.
So, even though it's a team sport, everything is kind of, you're the center point. So you're the one who's in there doing all that work or whatnot. When you lose, when you lose, your team lose too. But on paper, who gets more who gets more of the, I guess, grunt of the loss or whatnot?
It's you. Yeah, it's on you. So you've been training out of Knoxville for a while now. How did you get hooked up with the group up here, and how did you get to Tennessee?
One of my fraternity brothers, it was funny because I got through playing football and I was actually thinking about moving back down to Florida. And one of my fraternity brothers came up to me. He was like, hey, I'm going to kickboxing practice. And I was like, oh, okay. I always wanted to do some type of martial arts. So ended up going. And he went the first day, I went the second day. And when we were there, literally it was like, okay, this is how you throw a punch. This is, how you throw a kick. Okay, if you want to end up being really technical, this is knees, elbows, or whatnot. And then, okay, we're going to jump in the guard right now. And I'm like, when you jump in the guard, okay, this is how you do an arm bar. I'm like, arm bar? I'm like, okay, this is
going pretty quick.
I was like, I was thinking, this is not kickboxing.
Right.
And I was like, when we got through, he was like, I was like, hey, I thought this was mixed martial arts. I mean, not mixed martial arts. I thought this was kickboxing. And he was like, it is. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's mixed martial arts.
Yeah. You grabbing people's arms and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Adding that jujitsu in there and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. We were actually talking a little bit before the show got started about Von Flu and, Von Preux, that flu choke. I know you're known for it. I know it's probably not the thing you're like, it's not the top highlight in your mind, but for a lot of people out there, it's an interesting choke. It's an interesting way to win a match.
Well, it is, because, when people get caught in the arm and guillotine and whatnot, the first thing they want to do is pull their head out. Yeah. I
lean into it.
Yeah, stick my head in. I either try to pass the half mount, side mount, or I prefer side mount, but I either try to, if I could get half guard, I'm good too.
Yeah.
But just lock it in. Once I get it locked in, I know it's just a matter of time, because it's a blood choke, and obviously blood chokes, they can set in very quickly, or sometimes you just kind of just wait on it and it'll come about.
For the people out there that don't, really know that much technicalities and stuff about UFC, to win a match, you can submit somebody by, making them pass out. And one of those was a choke that Von Prue over here, OSP is known for, and it's the Von Flu choke. And it's one where you're actually being choked and then you kind of lean into it to cause them to be choked and then win the match,
Exactly.
using your shoulder and stuff. When Katie actually told me that she knew you, that we were going to do this interview and everything, I was like, I know that guy. I've seen a few of those fights. But, the reason that I bring it up and kind of go that direction is because here, at Revitalist, we want to talk to athletes and see, when you're in those scenarios, when you have something like you're constantly, especially in MMA, you're constantly being, barraged with hits, all these things. What are you doing on the back end to help prevent things like what we hear about in the news, things like CTE or things like, how these chokes could be harmful?
Just treatment. One thing I didn't realize too is just like, I remember one time I was at training, like a lot of times when you train, the last essentially 3 to 4 weeks of training, you always want to go into your fight as healthy as possible. So like, say if you're sparring and somebody hits you and you get a concussion, that's not good. Because typically when you get a concussion, you technically can't recuperate from that for at least, I want to say 2 months. And some guys come in and some guys go into the fight having a concussion. And when that happens, you get hit again. And basically it intensifies that quickly.
Yeah.
So, and I think, and for me too, like I'm kind of going to step a little bit this way. Like even with football, what made football worse than mixed martial arts is, and mixed martial arts.
That's actually what I was going to ask next was, how's that compared?
The best way I can compare it is, okay, boxing, if you get knocked down, you have a concussion, they give you the 8 count. You get a lot of guys get knocked down in the 3rd round, and it'll be the 12th round, and they'll be like, okay, they think it's the 4th round. So you get knocked down and you get a concussion. Some guys and all they doing is going off of instinct. You've been doing the form pretty much all your life, and you're on autopilot. You don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, I watched that Wilder Fury fight.
Yeah,
they both got knocked down plenty of times, and I thought it was done 4 or 5 different times.
And I think there was a situation where Wilder was talking about like he didn't know what round he was in, and as a fighter, if you don't know what round you got a concussion.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, but going back to football, man, the thing about football is, okay, you get hit week 1. Typically, pro football has 17 weeks. You get hit week 1, make a good hit, hard, solid hit. You feel that ring and be like, that's a buzz. That's a mild concussion. It can be at like 1%, but that's a mild concussion. Then week 2, you're good. Week 3, you're good. Week 4 come around, that happens again. That mild concussion, the one that was at like 5% just jumped up to like 15%. Then you get week 7 come by. That happens, a nice hit again. That 15% start jumping up. It start creeping up. So by the end of the week, by the end of the football season, your head is just throbbing the whole entire time because you planned essentially every single week. So you're not letting your time rest or whatnot. So
you feel like that time off that you have between fights, at least, I know you've done a few where you've had pretty close fights together.
Yeah. Those fights, I didn't get hurt at all. But fights that I did get hurt, like literally they'll be like, okay, you're off for the next 60 days or you're off for the next 45 days.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And the thing about mixed martial arts too, that I found that is pretty safe. If you're not properly defending yourself, it doesn't matter if you're on the ground. If you're not defending yourself, they'll be like, boom.
They'll jump in.
Yeah, they'll stop the fight.
Yeah.
Boxing, you can
like that Fury Wilder fight.
The first one, when Fury went down, I was like, oh, he's dead. And then after that, he just came up like the Undertaker. And I'm like, whoa.
That was probably one of the most exciting heavyweight fights I've ever seen.
Yeah. You can see the guys. He's just like, are you okay? And guys, their response always have to be like, yeah. Or even like when they're concussed and they can't see anything or they seeing like doubles or whatnot, there's little tricks trainers do or whatnot. They're like, refs be like, doctors be like, how many fingers I'm holding up? The corner can be in their back and be like 1, 2. So
yeah.
There's always little tricks about everything and whatnot. But as a fighter too, though, I think the hardest thing is you have that mentality. You're a fighter. You need to be tough. You need to be tough.
Right, it's a battle once you're in there.
It's hard to be tough. It is hard,
especially when you get rocked one
time. It is hard.
It
is hard. And like people people would tell you, he would like, when you get rocked, how does it feel like? I'm like, I don't know, because I'm trying to. He's like,
I'm trying to rock it.
He's like, you automatically
Yeah.
on survivor mode or whatnot.
Yeah.
But a trick that a lot of gyms used to do, I don't know if people still do it, is where they make you spin around the circle.
Okay. And if you get too dizzy from that?
No, they make you get too dizzy.
Oh, get too dizzy. And
then after they have somebody come at you. That's equivalent to
getting
rocked.
Yeah.
So just imagine this. It's not equivalent to do it because like you spin yourself around circles and you get dizzy. Somebody's coming at you. Obviously, your equilibrium is jacked up.
Right,
You don't know where you're at or whatnot.
Right.
But getting concussed, you got to think about it. Somebody's coming out to rip your head off.
Mm-hmm.
Your teammates always going to look after you, but somebody's coming out to rip your head off, and that's going to be completely different. But again, with going back to rivalities and stuff, it helps out tremendously or whatnot because PTSD don't fall into like you get a lot of military guys that have it, but a lot of sports guys have it too, concussions and stuff. And that helps out tremendously. I tell people every time you get hit, you get concussed.
Yeah.
And another thing I found out about too is when you get choked out, that's equivalent to a concussion.
Yeah, when you cut off that blood supply.
Yeah, that's equivalent to. The
reason you're passing out is it's a survival mechanism. Your brain's trying to shut down.
Yeah.
So that you don't die. And that's big.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It happened to me. It happened to me one time, and I didn't know. I was like, okay, shoot, because when you get choked out, you pass out and you wake up, and you typically be like, okay, same thing you get when you get knocked out. I'm like, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
So I came to, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. And when I came to, he's just like, people don't realize when you get choked out, your body goes through proper steps or proper channels to actually, okay, let's make sure we keep him alive as much as possible because he's not getting in the air. So typically when that happens, you go out and then certain organs start shutting down, your valve movements start shutting down because they're trying to keep basically what little blood left to actually get
going
you
to
going.
the vital places.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's fighters where if you get choked out and you actually if you piss on yourself or you have poop on yourself,
oh my God,
that choke been there for too long. You had that choke for about another 15 seconds.
It would have been
either brain injury or close to death.
Wow.
So yeah, it gets bad.
Well, we're talking about all the physical kind of changes and everything that can be harmful, but the mental aspect. We talked a little bit at the beginning about the mental game. When you get in there and you're trying to have that one up on your opponent, in the mental game.
Well, mental warfare is where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you ask Ali, the way, the way Connor does it.
Yeah,
Connor does
the trash talking.
Yeah, Connor does it. There's another guy, Israel Adesanya. He does the same thing.
Yeah,
he does the same thing too. Mental warfare is where it's at. Because if you can get somebody off their game mentally, you'll break them. But also mentally, that can happen from having stuff going on at home. Having stuff going on at the gym or whatnot. Because I tell people a lot of times, your gym life and your personal life have to be co in hand. If it's not, it's going to be bad. Because if you're having a bad home life or whatnot, that's going to transition into the gym. If you're having bad gym life, that's going to transition over home. So a lot of times
we talk about that with patients all the time. That what's going on kind of in that external environment is going to shape how a treatment goes, especially something like ketamine. When we talk about a drug like that is dissociative, it kind of makes you trip out a little bit, and you're kind of out of body. If you're already in a bad place, and now we send you to that place,
it's going to intensify.
You're about to be in a real bad place. Yeah. So, it's about having these kind of settings that we have. We're fortunate to have these beautiful studios and these, and especially that, the clinic space that's calming. You've been over there to the clinic in Knoxville, or which ones have you been to?
The one in Knoxville. I actually need to go back.
Yeah,
need to go back. But I definitely been over there. You walk in, just the atmosphere when you walk in is definitely calming. They always have somebody with you too, which is good.
It's comforting.
Yeah.
Especially just being. Yeah, you don't want to just be dropped off in there, especially this strange place that you don't know, and about a treatment that you're not too sure about. Especially if it's on that ketamine side. But for the, for the vitamins, the hydration, all the other things too, how has that changed, your game? Have you done any of those kind of hydration type therapies?
I did the vitamin B infusion. I know a lot of times when I'm getting sick, I should over there and do some vitamin C infusions too, just to get and boost up my immune system.
Yeah.
But
do you notice it help in recovery after fights and everything?
Yeah. After fights, before fights, during camp.
Yeah.
I'm always doing it just because for me, when it comes to like, I tell people a lot of the time, I spend pretty much 2/3 of the time actually training my body to deliver punishment, training my body to receive punishment, whether it's during strength and conditioning, cardio, boxing, mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu, anything, I'm doing that. But I also spend the other 1/3 of the time trying to get my body to actually, with recovery. And recovery for me is not just, getting deep tissue, getting dry needling, getting, just any type of treatment or whatnot. Recovery is the mental aspect of it too. So, talking to my sports psychologist and whatnot, doing that, meditating, reading, trying to make sure I'm actually for me, I know I have a strong body, but at the same time, I know before my body breaks, my mind will break. So I got to keep that stronger.
That's interesting. And what is it that, like, in your off time, when you're not training for fighting, when you're not, doing those things, what do you do to kind of recuperate and have those, that kind of reset mode? Do you have anything specific that you get into?
Man, I like doing a lot of things kind of like unusual. Like, when I go running, I don't like to run like during the daytime.
Mm-hmm.
Reason being, because you can run during the daytime, there's light outside, you see everybody's running, everybody's happy. And another thing I got from David Goggins too, people would try to wait for the right time to run.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be like, "Oh, okay, this is perfect."
David Goggins, yeah, man, he'll get at you. He's like,
he
stare at your shoes for 30 minutes, put on those shoes.
Yep.
Yeah.
He said something like, people wait for the perfect time to go running. Like, there was one time I just went to go run. My wife was like, it's raining outside. I know. Just went outside to go run. But I like running in the dark just because the ambience of the dark actually puts everybody on edge. For some reason, when it's dark outside, you're hypersensitive. Everything
you're looking for the next thing out
there.
Make sure you're not going to trip.
Yeah, everything is fine tuned.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy because I run along the river, and as I'm running, like, I tell people, like, I'm looking at something from a distance. It's dark. I can't really see. I'm like, is that a person? I can see something moving, but I don't know. So
gives you something to actively think about.
Yeah, heart rate start elevating.
Yeah,
and then after that, I'm like automatically, like, I feel like, okay, this is good. My nervous system is in fight mode right now.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's just like, okay, it's just another person coming too. Or it can be like a freaking rabbit run across. That's going to make you jump.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, crap. And then after they'd be like, okay, cool, let's go.
And you got to calm down. You got to have that kind of quick recovery.
Exactly.
Something that you need for the ring.
Yeah, which is good, it kind of, I like it because it jacks up my nervous system when I'm doing that. It gives me another element of training. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to find sometimes. Like, because when I'm in the gym training with people, I can be relaxed. I know everybody's tricks. I know everybody, but when your nervous system get jacked up, that means it get caught off guard. And when it get caught off guard or whatnot, then it's going to find you, okay, what do I need to do to calm it down? Okay, take a couple of deep breaths. Boom, I'm back at it. I can look at my watch. My heart rate went back down. Okay, let's get rolling.
Yeah.
I did that. And another thing started doing too is mountain biking.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice. Are you ever going to do like a triathlon, anything like that? No. I know a lot of fighters are into that.
I mean,
those triathlons.
The triathlon is cool. Like, okay, swimming in the water is cool. But I think the mountain biking aspect of it, one of my buddies, Tavis, he was like, "Hey, you ever rode a bike before?" No, yeah, I've rode a bike.
I know how to ride a bike.
Yeah. Went on the mountain bike trail, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I was like,
"I do not know how to ride a bike."
I do not know how to ride a bike. This is completely different.
Yeah.
But that's one of my new fads right now. I like it because it can push you. Mm-hmm. It's just you and the bike, and the thing is, especially when I ended up changing one of my bikes into a single speed.
Okay.
And I remember I was riding up this hill and I'm like, oh my God, I'm hurt. I can't do it. And then halfway, right when I was about to hop on my bike, And I looked up, it was probably like 100 yards. And I was like, I know if I make it, I know I can ride this 100 yards. I had to dig for the last 100 yards. I almost fell off my bike, but at the same time, knowing that I made it was completely something different. Cause it's crazy, man. It's crazy how like I did not know you can get that much of a workout from doing that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I did not know how mentally there's times where like I'll be riding, I look up and I just jump off my bike and I'm like, I can't do this. I just literally walk my butt up. But it's now just like when fight camp come around, it's just like my mental has to be completely different. Like the way I go about thinking about stuff has to be completely different. The way
You
I
can
approach
visualize
stuff.
that hill.
Yeah, I'm looking at
be
that
like,
hill and I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, I'm gonna crush you. I'm gonna crush you. I'm gonna crush you. I'm gonna crush you. But at the same time, my visualization is being like, okay, my guy's on top of the hill or whatnot, and he just made it up there, and I have to make it up there because he might be up on me by a round or something like that. And if I don't make it up there, I'm gonna lose the fight. And I need some type of motivation to get me up that hill. But yeah, that's something new I've been trying to do. That helps out tremendously. Mentally again. And also too, just talk.
Yeah.
Like just talk. Like if anybody asks me any questions about anything, just like, I don't try to sugarcoat anything. Just talk. Like, hey, what do you think about this mentally? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that?
Well, that's why I was so excited when Katie mentioned, we'd be able to get you today for a podcast. That's what she told me. She was like, if you want to talk to somebody, you talk to OSP. He's like, he'll tell you how it is and what's going on. And, and especially, how you're doing, with the team and everything. And then what Revitalis has done, with you for, hydration therapies and those kind of things too.
Yeah,
so.
that helps out tremendously. Like I said, man,
yeah.
a lot of times, especially the vitamins and stuff, people always like taking vitamin supplements, trying to do all of that. As much as I train, I train sometimes 8 hours a day. And like literally, even if I went biking yesterday, and when I went biking yesterday, all my buddies was like, man, this is a good ride. This is a good ride. He was like, man, I'm finna sleep good tonight. They're like, well, yeah, I just rode. I got to go running tonight. So me doing that.
Nonstop, man.
It's always nonstop.
Yeah.
It's always kind of like pushing yourself. But even with the hydration process and whatnot, that just helps out tremendously.
Yeah.
Get you the little boost of energy. Because a lot of times when you work out that hard, you can drag sometimes. So essentially all workout is basically you. What's the best way I can explain it? If you want to be the best, you have to hurt.
That suffer, that's
But,
David Goggins right there. That's
if you
some
want
pain.
But that's it. If you want to be
Yeah.
the best, you have to hurt. But if you do happen to get hurt, if you want to get better, you have to hurt.
Yeah.
So, like, regardless, you get guys who, have like ACL surgeries or whatnot. The recovery process sucks. That's hurts.
Brutal.
Yeah. If you pull a hamstring, in order to get better, you're not going to sit around. You got to hurt some more.
Right. That PT.
So, yeah, PT. So regardless,
Especially if you're an elite athlete, that PT is a lot different than me tearing my ACL, and just getting it back to where it needs to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
You need it to be at peak performance.
all the time.
Yeah.
So, but even like guys hate the cold tub. Like, no, it's too cold. I mean, it hurts, but it's good for you though. So I kind of associate hurt with being good all the time because, something hurts, it's good.
Where do you feel like that, kind of your mental and everything, for dealing with those situations? Where did you see that starting? Was that something from when you were young? You just had kind of a strong constitution for doing the wrestling, going to football, going to those things?
I think it started for me my junior year. My junior year in high school, I got hurt, and I was out for pretty much football, wrestling, and track season. So when that ended up happening, me going through rehab because I fractured my medial condyle, which is the lower half of your femur. So when that ended up happening, like literally, I was like, I thought, because I've never really been hurt So going through rehab, when breaking up the scar tissue in my knee, I was like, oh my God, this hurts. This hurt.
Yeah.
And the trainer that I had at that time helped out tremendously. But transitioning that, and every time I worked out, I'm like, man, every time I work out, I feel like I'm hurting all the time. But I didn't realize that's making me better and better and better. So, but I ended up kind of getting that transition. But the older I got, like playing football in college, I stepped away from that mindset just a little bit. And then when I started making the transition to mixed martial arts or whatnot, and every time I was still training full time, but I was still actually, like, throughout the week, like at least 3 to 4 times throughout the week, I was getting some type of form of treatment. I had one of my teammates at the gym. He was like, "You're not hurt. Why are you getting treatments for?" And I'm like,
"Yeah, they're not only for when you're hurting."
Yeah, I was like, I'm trying to prevent myself not getting hurt.
Right.
So when I was there was a guy named Trace Pate who's coming to the gym. I still work with him. He was doing a fascial stretch on me, and when he was doing that, he did it like pretty much. And when I'm in camp, I get it done repetitively. So when I was doing that, he was doing it in the gym, and a couple of the guys was like, "Oh yeah, let me try it." And then after that, they was like, "Oh, okay, it wasn't that bad." And they actually did it for about a week straight. And they came back. They're like, "Man, for some reason, I don't know what's going on. I feel really good right now." It was like, I don't feel as bad as I usually feel. And they're
like, "Oh, I could tell you why."
Yeah. And I told him, that's why you continue to get treatment, even if you're not hurt or whatnot.
Right.
And now his thing is like, he got certified under the fascial stretch type of deal.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And his whole thing is just like, I got to make sure I'm stretching, warming up properly before training, stretching after training. Like everything that he's doing now is kind of like clicking.
Preventative medicine.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. And stretching before and after. You know, a lot of those things people don't think of. It's like, I ran today. I have to stretch after my run. Yep. I got to do those things. And it fits with what we do too, at Revitalist. And, we try to not only get there for the treatment, but then what's the next step?
Yeah.
Or what's the step before we get started?
But you see, that's the biggest thing. If you educate yourself on it, if you know you need something, you educate yourself on it or whatnot, you'd be surprised how many people go through what you're going through. Because now, when I was in college, everybody used to be like, "Hey, I got to go see, sports psychologists and whatnot." Oh, every time somebody says that, what, you going crazy? Now I'm just like, "Oh, for real? What did y'all talk about?" Or you don't mind. It'd be like, I'm always picking at somebody's brain. I want to know.
And it's being an advocate, making them feel comfortable with the decision that they're making, and we try to do that too. But, I think that's actually, we're going to wrap it up for today. But OSP, I hope that you'll be back on the podcast.
Oh, I definitely will.
And we'd love to, get that next, especially after your fight. We want to know what happens and everything. When can people see that fight?
It will be November 13th. More than likely, it'll be on ESPN Plus.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So make sure you're cheering on OSP for that fight. Again, this was Brian Hogan with Self Health. This is a Revitalist podcast. Glad to have OSP here, and good luck, man.
Thank you.
All righty.